Getting a day closer here to the Memorial Day holiday weekend. We're watching a weather system in the right down the up and down the Mississippi Valley, producing heavy rains and flash flooding in some areas, and it does mean that we could see some severe weather risk here on Friday in the east before we transition over to what should be mostly a nice Memorial Day holiday weekend. We're going to take a look at all of that and the long range, fairly interesting in the long range, and that is tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. I'm Joe Chaffee. Joe Rayo is on vacay for a few days. He'll be back next week, unless he decides to give me a ring and let me know that he wants to come on. But I told him to just relax and enjoy himself. If he chose to do so, that would be perfectly fine. Welcome to everybody tonight on the chat board. Hope your day went well. Mine certainly did, which was a plus. Just want to let everybody know that for Patreon, those of you who are on my Patreon weather platform, patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Chaffee, my shameless self promotion plug for the night. There is a weather in 10 video that goes into detail about the long range and the changes that we're going to see once we get into early June and the weekend. So, don't have too much else to say up top. I got my my Under Armour hoodie on because it's actually on the coolish side today. It didn't get out of the low 60s, and it's been cloudy. I think the sun came out around 2:30 or so for all of about 15 minutes, and then it went away again. So that was that. And I haven't gotten any rain yet, but there is some on the way. So usually at this, the thing with the rain and the dog is I try to get the dog walked before the rain comes. So I'm hoping to beat it beat the rain before it gets here. So SPC's got severe weather risk up for Friday for the east. They actually have a slight risk area. Surprised me a little bit, but not not unwarranted given the circumstances. And again, with respect to the weekend, I think Sunday and Monday to me look okay. And I'm not saying okay, making it sound like it's going to be uh, less than perfect. There might be a few cloud issues here and there, but for the whole, it's good. I think they should be good. And Saturday will probably not be too bad. The problem with Saturday right now looks like there's, at least for the areas from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, we get the cold front Friday night. The upper trough is lagging by about a day, so that comes through Saturday evening. So that actually might set off a shower or thunderstorm when that goes by. And after that, we will see a good day Sunday, and I think we'll have a good day Monday. And it looks like the eastern half of the U.S. is going to go dry for at least the first half of next week, with a big ridge building in the part of the United States. So the heavy rains that are falling from the middle Mississippi Valley, and then tomorrow further east in the Ohio and Tennessee Valley, that is once that's done, you should be done until at least through at least next Wednesday. It doesn't look like the next cold front's going to get here until the end of next week. And then, of course, as we said, we've been talking about the fact that the pattern's going to change, and we're going to go back to a pattern that is going to favor probably near normal to below average temperatures in much of the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, and even in the parts of the southeast at times. Uh, when that happens, we're probably going to see some cooler air come down, and no sign of any prolonged heat wave, other than the fact that I think it could get uh, very warm to hot Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, barring any sort of, unless there's a backdoor cold front that comes down and changes the scheme of things, at least down at the surface. But when you look at things that are going on aloft, it would certainly suggest that um, we should see temperatures on the rise. So nice to see everybody. I see the chairman's on. I see Chuck's on, and Craig Carlberg and Dennis Cassia. and William Uber and Miss Valurite. All the regulars are here. Johnny Quest. Uh, just wanted to. This is when I start doing this, and I'm just like, I really don't want to leave anybody out. So Paul Roman, David Schwartz, they were there earlier. Chris Alley is on. Hi, Chris. Hope you're doing well. And in case I left, oh, Frank Riccio just jumped on, as did Michael Azara. So anyhow, let's um, let's dispense with the romper room introductions, and let's head over to the satellite views tonight and take a look at what's happening. And we'll get them on the screen there for you. There you go. Is the northeastern satellite loop paired away there. All right. So audio's fine, I guess. So here we go. And of course, it really was a pretty nice day in the Northeast. Still some leftover clouds today from down in Virginia, and particularly into North Carolina, from that old disturbance that came out of the Gulf of Mexico back yesterday and a day before yesterday. And at least for now, on the western side of this in Ohio, western Ohio, you're seeing some of those flashes. This satellite loop, again, if you weren't here the last couple of nights, we've been using this combination visible satellite loop that actually also shows lightning strikes. And it's particularly impressive tonight when you look at it from the full U.S. view. Here's our storm, upper air storm system, that cutoff low, very well defined on the satellite loop tonight. You see the giant swirl, that cold upper air low that is moving eastward out of the central plains very, very slowly. And you'll notice that these storms, the line is moving to the east very, very slowly. So this thing is creeping along, and that's been good for the northeast and the northern part of the mid-Atlantic, in that it's kept the weather nice for an extra day or so. In the meantime, take a look at this line of thunderstorms from central Tennessee down into western Alabama and into southeast Louisiana. A lot of lightning strikes going on there. Also, a ton of lightning strikes off the Florida Panhandle this evening. As this thing spins, its circulation aloft is pulling up moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, and you get a lot of tropical forcing that pushes northward, and as a result, you wind up with thunderstorms and severe weather. You cannot find a cloud anywhere in the southwestern quarter of the United States and down into Mexico and the Baja Peninsula. It is as bone dry as you could possibly be. You're seeing a lot of the moisture. The way the jet stream has been set up for many weeks now, the rains have been streaming into the Pacific Northwest, and the moisture has been translating over on the other side, especially in parts of the plains, which has been good for them to alleviate some local droughts that are going on in parts of in Nebraska, long-term issues that are getting alleviated there. But uh, the south of there, you've been basically cut off from all of this, and that has posed a big problem with the bone dry conditions that we've seen, seemingly endless bone dry conditions in the Southwest. So here's the latest U.S. radar as we take a look at what's happening. We've had a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings out in parts of the South. Right now, most of the Deep South, most of them at the moment, we just have special marine warnings at work off the coast of southeast Louisiana and off the Florida coast. I haven't really seen too much in terms of severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings inland. There's one at the moment in southwest Alabama. There's another one. There are three of them actually at the last. Well, there were three of them. There they go, and then they just sort of expired there in central Tennessee. By the way, I just want to remind everybody as you're watching the radar, it's 7:09 Eastern time. So if you're looking at this on a replay, obviously looking at dated satellites and radars. So please go to weather.gov. If you're checking up on severe weather, go to your local National Weather Service forecast office, and you can access that at weather.gov. Meanwhile, on the other side of the northwest side of the upper low is producing some moderate to heavy rain from northern Oklahoma, Kansas, and in southeastern Nebraska and over into southwestern Iowa. Seeing some showers and storms from St. Louis northwestward right along the Mississippi River. kind of following it right up there in terms of the line is kind of hugging, the area of storms hugging the state line. Some scattered showers and storms in Illinois, but we've got now it looks like 4 severe thunderstorm warnings at as of 7:10 Eastern. Uh, one, two, now three, or then it goes to three in northern Indiana, and those are also moving northward and heading into Michigan. And we've got some light rain across the upper peninsula of Michigan and the northern part of the lower peninsula of Michigan. But all of that is well north and west, and I think we're going to be fine here in the east for one more day. It's quiet from Maine right down to Florida, except at the Panhandle where we saw those showers and storms. And further northwest, you're seeing just some scattered precip parts of Montana, western Montana and western North Dakota, and just a little bit of light stuff. Looks like most of that's aloft that's coming in to south coastal Washington and northeastern, northwestern Oregon. All right, the Storm Prediction Center, as of the moment, has one shrinking. Well, let's see if it's shrunk any further. The watches, there are now no severe thunderstorm watches in effect. The last severe thunderstorm watches expired. They just put out a recent mesoscale discussion for southwest Alabama down to the Florida Panhandle and said a severe thunderstorm watch was unlikely to go up. And also in central Tennessee, they issued earlier on a mesoscale discussion that a severe thunderstorm watch was unlikely for that particular area. So at least for now, it looks like things are remaining on the I don't want to say subdued side, but we're not. Let's say we're not seeing an active night at the moment as far as severe weather is concerned. Okay, risk area, and this is the risk area that's laid out through the overnight, and you see where the slight risk is: western Alabama, eastern Mississippi, southeastern Louisiana. That's playing out now. Marginal risk going all the way up into southern Wisconsin and Michigan, and you've got an area of slight risk: northeastern Illinois, northern Indiana. That includes Chicago, and also parts of western Ohio. Now tomorrow, as that system starts to slide to the east, let's move the risk areas to the east. And we have slight risk. Tomorrow it's the Ohio and Tennessee Valley down to the eastern half of the Gulf Coast, where we have a fairly large area of marginal risk. So you could expect isolated severe thunderstorms in that zone, and a slight risk, which means that you'll probably see either some small lines or clusters in Ohio, a good chunk of Ohio and northwestern Kentucky, and a small portion of westernmost West Virginia. But still here in the northeast, down to coastal Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula, Maryland, and the eastern half of PA, and much of New York State except the west. No thunderstorms are forecast for Thursday and Thursday night. Now for Friday into Friday night, this is where we get involved here in the east. So we've got a fairly large area of slight risk from western New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania, running all the way south to include Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, most of Virginia except the west, North Carolina, the eastern half of North Carolina, down to eastern part of South Carolina, with the marginal risk extending further south from there. I don't think we'll see beyond a slight risk for this on Friday. Maybe the marginal risk might get pushed a little bit further to the west if this thing is a little slower, or further to the east if it's a little bit faster. But I'm not expecting much change. If there is going to be an issue with the strength of the storms, again, I would think that it would probably be because of the way the trough is moving eastward and how far south it is, that the stronger storms will likely be more as you head. Instead of lately, we've seen so many of these systems where we've seen big storms going on in upstate New York and in northwestern New England, for example, and they kind of tail off as you head south. I think Friday, it'll be the reverse, where you'll see isolated, maybe severe thunderstorms to the north, and then you start to get into the slight risk area, and then you're talking about clusters and maybe some small line segments of thunderstorms that will develop ahead of this cold front. And as far as the rain for the next 7 days, not much change really from WPC on their updated map. This starts tonight at 8 o'clock and goes through next Wednesday night. And you'll notice that along the immediate coast, we're talking about less than a half, and in some cases less than a quarter. And if you're in around southeastern and eastern Massachusetts, it's less than a tenth of an inch of precip over the next 7 days. Just inland, though, and then you go into Pennsylvania, you headed over to West Virginia. Virginia, we're talking about 3/4 of an inch to an inch or an inch and a quarter. Local amounts will wind up being higher because of convection. And then you've got these patches of 1.5 to 2.5 inch rains indicated for western North and South Carolina, northern Georgia, northeastern Georgia in particular, and then further south into the Florida Panhandle. And of course, we've got this stretch of rain, lots of precip for the northern Rockies and the northern Plains in the next week, inch and a half to some 2.5 inch amounts, and also up into the Pacific Northwest, where we're seeing. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it on the risk zone for tomorrow, because we don't get this too often, but we've actually got risks for thunderstorms tomorrow. A slight risk up in northeastern Oregon and western Idaho, and the marginal risk surrounding that covers parts of Washington State and also into western Montana. And then you saw on day 3 that moves further to the east. There was nothing on the long range other than predictability being too low for the 4 to 8 day time frame that would take you from Saturday through next Saturday morning through next Wednesday morning. And I would, judging from what I saw, I'm not really expecting very much, anything at all, to be happening in the eastern part of the U.S. So let's look again. I want to just go back and look at today's teleconnections because they do change a little bit from run to run. Sometimes they change radically toward the end of the forecast period if we're in a situation where the atmosphere is a bit on the unstable side. You're seeing this is the Pacific North America Index, or the PNA, and that measures changes in pressure. It basically subtracts the low and high pressure and takes those differences, and then you wind up seeing where you are. Are you going to have a positive number, or are you going to have a negative number? And if it's a positive number in the PNA, you are going to wind up with a trough in the eastern part of the United States. And we're speaking in generalities here because the eastern part of the United States is kind of a big geographic area. So you wind up with troughing in the eastern part of the United States and ridging in the west. And at the moment, the PNA is actually pretty much sitting right at neutral. Excuse me. It is forecast to go negative, and it is only about one standard deviation, so it's not crazy negative. So it kind of saying some ridging in the west, but not a whole lot, and maybe some troughing in the east, but not a whole lot. And then well, it's going negative. I'm sorry, let me flip that around. I'm just suddenly my brain went to the NAO. So on the PNA, so it's going negative, which means some troughing in the west, but not a whole lot, and ridging in the eastern part of the United States. Now it's going to go. It's going to bottom out during this weekend and then start to uptrend toward the neutral line as we go into the month of June. So you're going to have ridge in the east flattening and the trough in the west also going to weaken as some ridging starts to build there. Now we'll switch over to the North Atlantic Oscillation, or the NAO, and if you remember that stretch of miserable weather, that occurred in this W shape right in here. This is where the NAO last went negative for about about a 2-week, 2.5 week period. And this is, if you remember, when we had all the blocking and that miserable low that parked itself offshore and just stayed there for days and days and days until it finally got out of the way. It took over a week for it to get out of the way. Well, since then, we've gone positive on the NAO, and we're up here. So we're actually +2, which is a fairly strong positive reading. Now, that's going to change starting actually. Sorry about that. My audio, I don't know why my headset shut off, but I beep. So anyway, we're going to start going negative, and pretty quickly. We're going to cross the neutral line probably over the weekend, and then we will be slightly negative by June 1st, and then we go one standard deviation from the mean. Now, all these red swiggly lines, those are the ensemble members. So each one has its own opinion. And actually, if you look, you've got a lot of members. You actually have one member that takes it almost to 2.5 standard deviations from the mean. That is strong. That's a strong reading. On the other hand, they're all trending downward. But if you've got some that decided to go stay positive longer and then go negative, maybe after the 4th or 5th of June. I don't think that necessarily makes a big difference in terms of the outcome of the weather here. I think the Pacific North America Index is sort of driving things more at the moment rather than the NAO. But this does suggest if we go into this negative reading that we're going to at least get into some uh, cooler than average temperature-wise scheme in June after we get through the first couple of days. And it also, what it doesn't tell us, of course, is where the troughs are. Where's the trough exactly going to be in the east? Is it going to be at 80? Is it going to be at 90? Is it going to be at 75? Is it going to be 70? Because we could very well wind up in a situation where the trough is offshore, in which case it winds up being cool, but it winds up being on the dry side, and that we don't have situations where we've got something coming across from the west and deciding to just sort of park itself off the mid-Atlantic coast and staying there for days and days and days at a time. So I don't see that at the moment showing up on the models. I have not looked at the new GFS yet, so we will see it together, and I'm going to bring that up right now. So let's talk about Friday, and we'll start with what the upper air looks like up close. So there's your very cold wrapped up upper low. And if I go back to the satellite loop, you're going to see where that giant swirl is on the loop in Oklahoma and Kansas, just sort of rotating around. That is what it looks like on the satellite, and this is what it looks like on the models on a weather map. And right in there is an upper low at about 18,000 feet. We've got an upper high sitting off the southeast coast. So our upper air winds bringing warm air into the northeast and mid-Atlantic states right now. So you might say, well, it wasn't really particularly warm today. Remember, we're looking upstairs. What's going on upstairs does not necessarily reflect what's going on downstairs because this ridge, the way it's aligned, is putting a surface high over Nova Scotia or eastern Maine, Nova Scotia, somewhere right in here. And as a result, we're getting winds that are coming in from the east. And then tomorrow, we're going to see those surface winds actually go more southeast. And that's going to bring in some clouds into the mix tomorrow. And it might be more clouds than anything else, especially during the morning hours. Maybe we'll probably see some breaks in there, some changeable sky conditions. As long as the ridge is along the east coast, I don't think we're going to have any rain other than maybe somebody winds up with some patchy light rain or drizzle for some of the lower clouds moving in. Now here comes the upper low. It moves east, starts to weaken. There's that northern trough there that stretches from west of James Bay down over Lake Huron. It's trying to pick it up. It picks up some of the energy, but not all. And at least on the GFS, the upper low just continues to move east and weaken. And the difference this time around, as opposed to the last time, was the fact that we had the upper low move off the coast. It was stronger, and it sat there. And then, if you remember, it started drifting southward because the exit ramp was closed for it to move to the east because of the blocky nature of the atmosphere. Well, it's not closed this time around. It's not really getting left in no man's land, but it is at the part of the jet stream where things are moving a little bit slower. Everything's moving a little bit faster further north. See that northern shortwave just basically goes by. So instead, this is going to go out to the east. It's just going to take a little bit longer. And then, of course, another big ridge build. This is a strong ridge, strong upper high that builds in Ohio and Indiana. And I think you're going to see temperatures in the 90s there and up into the lower lakes starting on Tuesday. And then the high just sort of pivots around. And then you see how it begins to flatten because we've got a system coming down from the north late next week, and that'll be the next cold front that will go by. And as I'm looking here going forward, there's a nice trough being indicated. This is where we start to get into the NAO going negative, and you start to see that trough, the next system dropping in for early of the week of June the 6th. I'll go wider here so you can take a look on the wider view, and it's something that in the wintertime might prove a little bit interesting anyway. But you see how it sort of drops in there into the eastern part of the United States, and you've got general troughing right through the entire 16-day period in the east. But it's one where it's not, you don't see that upper low off the mid-Atlantic coast. This is actually, for this time of year, this is a fairly strong and cold feature. So if this winds up verifying, I would expect to see some rather cool temperatures in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, and even in the Southeast U.S. during that first week of June. Big ridge in the middle and troughing that's coming in to the west, and that one, the one there, if that's right, extends pretty far south. So you start to wonder whether you might get some weather to get in to parts of the Southwest where they really need it. Now, as far as Friday goes, I want to take a look first at, let's look at the 700 millibar, the 10,000 foot level map, because I like to use that as an indicator of whether we might wind up with some severe weather or not. What I like to look for is these jet streaks. You see those brownish spots? Those are jet streaks with winds of 50 knots or higher. And it's in those that you wind up seeing the thunderstorms where those winds mix down to the surface. So I'd like to just kind of look at that and see how the models are handling it with the upper low. And we do have a few jet streaks here. This is Friday evening. See the brownish spots over New York City, another one in southern New Jersey. I mean, who knows if they're exactly going to be there, but it does have some. So this would imply that there would be some some of those thunderstorms that we're forecasting for Friday evening could be strong or even severe. And on Saturday, with the open trough coming through, I think there might be some scattered stuff around. I'm sorry, for Saturday, there might be some scattered stuff around here in the east. And as that cold pool moves by, and perhaps there might even be a stronger cell in there too. We'll deal with that when we get a little bit closer. But then afterwards, I think we're okay. Now, there is something interesting here on the GFS on the late run. Take a look at that obvious area here that's sitting up right there. Nope, that's not what I wanted. That's right in here. So that right in here, there's some kind of disturbance that moves over the top of the ridge, and then it drops almost south-southeast through New England. This comes Monday night into Tuesday, and it clips eastern New England with some thunderstorms as it goes by. And after that, it's got a northerly flow because the ridge is actually far to the west, or at least far enough to allow that to happen. Now, if that does, that might change things as far as temperatures go Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll have to see about that. And then you see how the ridge just sort of flattens out and we start to get into troughing. Two things I want to point out with the models in the longer term. The European, once again, this is with respect to the tropics and no, not the North Atlantic. I wanted the Western Atlantic. Okay, having clicking too fast. There we go. The Western Atlantic. Well, let's go to surface here. So the GFS. Then we'll switch over to the. So the GFS has. There's some, maybe this was what wound up being one of the runs that had tried to form something in the Caribbean, the associated wave moving off the coast of Mexico, and it does develop it there by 84 hours. Looks like it has a hurricane off the coast of Mexico, which it sort of lingers around and then turns to the north, and then it just dissipates. In the meantime, On the Atlantic side on the GFS, it takes something again out of the Southwest Gulf, so the Southwest Caribbean, and moves it northward toward Cuba, some sort of weakish system. It really doesn't show too much here on this particular run. The European has been kind of insistent on this. Take a look at the European. The European sets up almost the same way with certainly about the same way with the hurricane in the Pacific there, see it moving inland. This one, the difference is that it moves it inland and then it takes some sort of center across to the other side into the Southwest Gulf, which is kind of interesting. This is around day 8, and it slowly begins to move it northward later in the forecast period. Now, I bring this up again to remind everybody that until it gets inside day 7, and then we start to see it progress as each day goes by, it's in there day 6, then day 5, then day 4. Then we start to take it seriously. The only thing I would bring up is what I brought up yesterday, is that the European is showing this now for about the last 4 or 5 days. It still doesn't make an appearance until about day 7. So we need it to go inside the day 7 time frame, or we even decide that there's going to be some semblance of reality to it. Now let's get back to the east. I'm going to bring up first we'll start with the European since we have it up here already. And okay, so I'll just backtrack here. Now for Friday, the models line up fairly well. Have the system coming eastward, cold front, showers and storms. There's a lingering trough behind it for Saturday that maybe produces a shower or storm. This is not the radar. Remember, this is actual how much precip falls. It's not the radar. So you look at a map like this, you're saying, oh my, it's raining everywhere. No, it's not like that at all. It's just showing you rainfall for the past I believe it's the past 6, it's either 3 or 6 hours. I'll have to, but on most maps it's 6. On this one it might be 3. And then it moves on to the east because the European on tropical tidbits is in 3-hour increments. And then we're left with nice weather for sure for Sunday and Monday. The European's also showing that system. You see that yellow area there in Minnesota Sunday evening coming over the top and then dropping down with some sort of little cold front into eastern New England. And then it turns the winds around a bit to the north come Tuesday. Excuse me. Oh boy. Sorry. Worst time is first thing I always think is when you have to sneeze and it doesn't want to come out. That is not a good feeling. Oh, I hit my microphone. Let me just make sure I sound okay. Okay, I'm good. So there we go with our cold front going by, and then another front. This comes through on Friday, maybe with some showers and storms with that, and then it looks like we go into next weekend, and things, at least from what I'm looking at here, look to be okay. Now we'll go to the GFS. I'm just going to lean optimistic here for Saturday, where it's a day of maybe sun and clouds, and that you wind up with some scattered showers or thunderstorms in the afternoon when that upper trough moves by. But here's the GFS with your showers and storms for Friday night. Again, let me give you the radar because it's much more realistic. And there you go. And you see that it's a fairly active line for Thursday evening that moves through Georgia and Tennessee and into the Carolinas. And it then approaches a less robust on Friday, kind of picks up from southern New Jersey down into eastern Virginia and eastern North Carolina. And I think that makes sense because the upper trough is more to the south now rather than being to the north. And then you have that lingering trough, and you see those showers Saturday morning in upstate New York. That's an arm that's going to come around, and it doesn't really do very much with it. In fact, it keeps most of them inland, and it starts to suddenly on this run, it starts to weaken them. The only thing it does do is that because of the upper low, there's a little surface low that sort of lingers offshore, but even that's gone now. So that's an even bigger positive for Sunday and Monday. And then, of course, you get this thing that comes over the top from Monday night into Tuesday, and it doesn't really change the profile too much on this run with regards to Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm just looking at this the way that uh, most of the weather is being dominated by the high to the south. So I would think that that would mean some very warm temperatures on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday also we're going to see some very warm temperatures to the west. There's a little bit of a front here that's trying to go by on Tuesday, so that's one thing we might have to look at as to whether we get backdoored on Tuesday to keep the 90-degree plus heat to the west and keeping it a little cooler. But definitely, either way, for next week, it looks very dry through the forecast period here as we look ahead. I'm already into Thursday and not seeing very much of anything at all until we get to next Thursday night with a cold front with some showers and thunderstorms, and then it's just dry and cooler behind it with no complications. Looking also off the southeast coast, so it's got something coming out uh, from the western northwest Caribbean and goes off the east coast. Who knows? At the end of the day, who knows if that's so? Uh, that's pretty much wraps up the whole weather situation here in a nutshell. Now it's in a time of year where everything moves slow, and you're sort of waiting to get these weather systems to move on through, and then you get into, if you're lucky, you get into a stretch where the weather is nice and dry for a nice stretch of time. And I have some allergies going on. For some reason, they seem to pop up for me in the evening. So I'm sorry I'm having to blow my nose on the live stream, but believe me, it's I need to do it. So anyway, let me get my face here. You're seeing there is some of the software that I use so that I can read the chat board and see what's going on with everybody. But right now, I can't see me. All right, there's my video. Now I'm up in the okay. So I can't do the maps and watch the board at the same time. So now I got the video up. I can see what's going on as far as the chat board is concerned. If you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome. This is the Joe and Joe Weather Show, -1 Joe, as Joe is taking a few days off and having some fun out west. So I hope he's enjoying himself. Hope he doesn't get any clouds and rain where he is. Wants to stargaze a little bit and watch the meteor shower. Tom Contino, you said you wrote to warn him of the Russian hackers. Its antivirus needs to be upgraded. I will tell you that I am I am mostly out. I'm not quite completely out of tech hell. My regular website is working, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Seems to have we've got the audio issues resolved on YouTube for the most part. Haven't had any problems last couple of days. And the only remaining problem is the homepage and the video page on my app, which is not working. For some reason, something is blocking it. Not sure what it is, and nobody else seems to know what it is either. So I think I think it's gonna be one of those things that I will eventually. What I do with technology is with situations like that is I throw my hands up and say I can't be bothered with this stuff anymore, and I just get used to it, and then I just wake up one morning and it's working, and I don't know, and I just don't know why. All I know that it's somehow got fixed. I guess maybe I'm just going to have to hope that something like that happens. Does WPC take elevation into account when they issue rainfall forecasts? They're when you look at their maps and you look and see how how they outline some of the max precip areas, they do. I think they do a pretty good job. I remember there was one day last year where they had this one spot in Ohio, which happens to be where Ohio's only mountain is, or one of the few, and they had that just sort of this isolated spot where they had snow there. So yeah, they do take elevation into place. Leon Probitsky, thank you for hitting super chat tonight, most appreciated. And yeah, Jason, I do run the model backwards. So okay, there you go. Sorry about that. Briefly lost my audio. Yeah, sometimes I actually like Jason. I like running the model backwards and taking a look at things from day 16 to back to day one, so you sort of see get a perspective of where things have come from and how they evolved, so that they, so you get to the final point. And oftentimes one of the things that I get out of it is that I can I can see where certain things, if certain systems behave slightly differently, how the outcomes will turn out to be different than what the model may necessarily uh, be uh, be showing. So let's see. I'm just thumbing through. Um, uh, I'm thumbing through all the chats here. Again, it's always nice to see everybody on the board. Tom Contino, I'm gonna just tell you, it's kind of, I don't know. I've kind of said it to you a number of times. I hate to berate you with everyone here, but you know what? Stop with the political stuff when we're doing the weather show, part of the show. Thank you. Uh, so anyway, sorry about that. Uh, just seeing what everybody is saying. All right, you know what? That kind of wraps it up. No, Tim, there's nothing cyclonic in the Atlantic at the moment to take seriously. Uh, Whatever the models are hinting at, they're always going to be hinting at something for the next 6 months or so. I don't know if everybody saw the Hurricane Center. No surprise there. They're going for an active season of above normal storms. They gave it a wide range of 14 to 20 and 6 to 10 hurricanes, and I'm assuming three majors. Oddly enough, when you look at the activity over the last 20 or so years, last 20 or 25 years, the um, the number of major hurricanes has not actually been above the average, the long-term average. It's kind of stayed at that level of around two or three. But while the actual total number of storms have gone up, and I think this really has to do with the fact that at least the total number of storms have gone up because of the better technology that there is to observe them and analyze them. So a lot of the smaller, weaker systems are getting picked up that used to be that kind of slip underneath. But the number of major hurricanes has not really increased over the last 20 or 25 years. So that's an interesting uh, part of all this equation. It's never a smooth thing. There's always something in there, some sort of caveat that makes you think, well, maybe it's this, but I don't know. I'm seeing something else that says there might be another factor involved. So it's always important to take all those things into account. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. It's 7:40 Eastern Time. Again, thanks very much for being here. It's fun tonight. So here's the situation for tomorrow. We're going to put it in flux tomorrow because I'm not sure whether I'll be able to do a show tomorrow evening or not. If not, then we'll see about Friday. But if we do a show tomorrow night, it's more than likely that I will take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, and then come back on Monday. But there's always the chance, depending on one thing or another, where I wind up changing my mind. So it's going to kind of leave it open. I think there's a fair chance that we will have a show tomorrow. I may have to wind up moving it up to say 6 o'clock as opposed to 7 o'clock. And thanks, Tom. Most appreciated. I'm sorry I scolded you. Uh, so I might have to move tomorrow night's show to 6 o'clock rather than 7 o'clock. But if I do, you'll get the notification. So got it. All right. So have a great evening, Leon. Thanks for the super chat hit as always. And we'll see you at some point. We'll see you at some time tomorrow, either at 6 or 7. Okay. Have a great night, everybody.